Welcome to Truth, Money, and Freedom. Today is Thursday, the 18th of July, 2019. Hey, gang, I'll make this a short one here. I just wanted to make clear my point of view regarding this U.S.-China trade negotiation, whatever it is. It's actually, honest to God, guys, it's currency war. This is what it is. It's really truly come down to that now, and I think we'll start seeing more evidence that it truly is a currency war. And it's a currency war because China has made such massive inroads in the world with the Silk and Belt and Road. And the Silk and Belt and Road does not have the dollar, attached to it with all these deals China's making all over the world. So China is, in effect, literally everywhere it goes, it's starting to diminish the importance of the U.S. dollar in trade. And so that's my opinion, by the way. This is not something I have read or anything like that. That is just my opinion. But it looks like a financial invasion is what China is doing all over the world. And it doesn't matter if it's political influence or if it's financial influence. They tantamount to the same thing whenever they go somewhere. They diminish the dollar. Trump knows this. Anyone in the United States knows this. And of course, the high finance cities of the world, there's two of them. There's New York and there's London. But I think Beijing is just about there, but on a different level, in a different way. Their economy is not as advanced as London's or as America's. They make product. They actually make things in China. Whereas the products we make in London and New York are financial products. You know, I don't know how else to explain it. It is a weird concept. We take things that have no value and we spin them into things that we claim have value, and then they get stuffed in, sovereign funds. They get stuffed in pension funds and stuff like that. And that's really kind of the thing we export, which is debt. And China's not doing it that way. They do it a little differently. So I would like to actually throw into your thought processes right now. It's something to think about. Like I said, this is not something I can prove, but my gut is telling me that this is, honest to God now, a currency war between China and the United States. And as they continue this currency war, it may turn into something a little different. So that's what we need to keep a very good eye on, which is a real war. That's usually how currency wars end. Not always, but usually. We don't want a war with China. Um, Trump is saying here, Mexico is doing great at the border, but China is letting us down in that they have been buying the agricultural products from our great farmers. Um, they have not been. I'm sorry, not been. From our great farmers, like they said they would. Hopefully they will start soon. Well, that's if China's sourcing food someplace else that is non-GMO, they may decide to not do business with the United States. However, we are really, really, really good at growing food in the United States. It's one of the things we're really good at. Unfortunately, because of the incestuous ties between government and Monsanto and in other organizations besides, we are now almost completely GMO here in the United States. All the foods that we grow here are genetically modified organisms. So there are parts of the world that want nothing to do with our food supply. And this may be part of what's going on right now, and it's disguised as a trade war. I don't know that either. Once again, I'm just, giving you, a perspective, a point of view. So I want to actually give you another thought, which is, how economies work. And it doesn't matter if it's China's or the United States'. Our economies are run in such a way that basically everything is starting to get subsidized in the United States. Well, that's exactly how communist economies work, which is, subsidizing every single industry you have. So they're smart about it in China, at least they were. Um, when they actually started building these giant ghost cities, that was a horrible waste of resources. That was a very giant mistake for them to do, to actually do this. It was a monumental achievement. I mean, they've got like 20 million or something apartments, in ghost cities that are not being used right now and dilapidating and all that fun stuff. But we do stupid things here in America too. We subsidize corn so we can have ethanol in our gasoline. So ethanol is very expensive to produce. The last time I saw a study on it, it takes about 1.5 gallons of diesel to create 1 gallon of ethanol. And that gallon of ethanol has one half the BTUs as the 1 gallon of diesel. So subsidizing corn to create ethanol is not a good idea. And we've been doing it for a very long time, gang, a minimum 10 years, subsidizing the corn farmers so we can get, cheaper corn. Well, they say, well, the gasoline's cheaper now because it's got 10% ethanol in it. Well, it's subsidized on the government level, so you pay for the rest of it in taxes. So, I mean, it's very expensive to produce ethanol. Is it a cleaner fuel? Well, yeah, I think it is. But at what cost? At what cost? So, and if you go to, for instance, your cars that run on electricity and they're made by a lot of different folks, including Tesla, you have to, consider the fact that you're using coal in many cases, burning coal to fuel your car, to actually recharge your battery. And so that's something that a lot of people that get these electric cars don't really think about. Now, if you're pure nuclear or natural gas or whatever, it's cleaner. But just some thoughts for you, gang. So if we start subsidizing everything, and we do subsidize most things here in the United States. For instance, the auto industry is subsidized, solar industry, is a subsidized. The agricultural industry is subsidized. They're subsidizing so many things. Well, we might want to think about that and see if that's a good idea, because basically that's another thing how the government can pick winners and losers. Would we have ethanol if the government did not subsidize it? I'm going to say no, because fuel would be much more expensive with ethanol in it. And some high-minded folks might say, well, I'm going to go ahead and get the fuel with the ethanol in it because I don't want to participate in pollution or CO2, whatever. But I really doubt it. I mean, people make decisions with their pocketbooks all the time, and Americans, I think, would probably end up going with a cheaper fuel. So, does the government then make a decision that regular oil should be more expensive than ethanol? Well, that's exactly what they do through subsidizing. So it's a pretty twisty, windy web finance goes into with subsidizing industries in the United States. Well, we're exactly like China in that regard. So those of you who think that we have a better system than China, we're kind of the same in many regards. The way that that industry is run, the way the government picks winners and losers, the way the government subsidizes businesses, we're very much the same as China. And I just want people to understand that, because there's actually, as time goes on, there's fewer differences between us and China in regards to how businesses are run, how politics are run, and basically how subsidizing industry is run is very similar to China's. And I thought that would be an excellent thing to do on a podcast, to give people a little bit of food for thought on how these things actually are accomplished. And I am of the opinion that we are officially in a currency war with China now. Now I'm going to get into that just a little bit here, but once again, supposition. I'm going to, this is not anything I can prove, but China claims it has some 3,000 tons of gold in reserve. That's their reserve of gold. There are okay, let me say America. America claims, I'm doing air quotes here, it has 8,000 tons of gold, which is supposedly the biggest amount of gold held by any one nation in the world. Now, there's a lot of very smart analysts that are saying there is no way China has any less than 25,000 tons of gold. There's no way, because they've not been selling, and they mine an awful lot in China, plus they're buying from the rest of the world. Now, if you take what they purchase from the rest of the world in the last 6 years, that's the amount of gold China claims to have, which is, roughly their 3,000 tons of gold. Um, but they've got a lot more than that, gang. And I mean a lot more. And they've got a lot of gold in China underground, and they're mining it. And what does that mean? Well, remember the old saying, he who has the gold makes the rules? Well, China may be calling the shots here pretty soon, as far as, the world finances go. I think China wants to have a bigger part of the SDR. I think they want their yuan to be top dog. What does that mean? That means world reserve currency. Does it mean it's going to happen? No, it doesn't. But I think that they're basically constantly applying for that position, not just in what they do, but it's how they do it. And I think that we're probably going to probably start having a new Cold War with China, and it will be a financial one. I don't think it's going to be weaponry unless we're sworn to protect Taiwan. If they try to take over the government of Taiwan, there will probably be some action from us. That's something they have to think about very, very carefully, and so do we. But that's what I think this whole U.S.-China trade negotiation is about a currency. It's about whose currency is going to matter, whose currency is going to be the world reserve. And that would give China, all the benefits that we have taken for granted here in the United States for so many years. And they worked hard for it. They played the long game. Most businesses in the United States think by the quarter, and that's it. They don't see beyond the quarter they're in. We're talking about quarterly reports, quarterly profits. That's all they think about. In China, they think literally like 10 years in advance, and they have bigger plans that go 100 years, that go beyond their lifetimes. Bigger plans it's a cultural difference between us and the Chinese. So they're much more effective in playing the financial game than we are, because we think our thinking is so short-sighted here in the United States. Now, most of this is conjecture. What I have just said, basically in this podcast, it is just my gut feeling after studying this for a long period of time. And you may not hear this anywhere else, and I may be wrong. I am human. I'm wrong sometimes. But I do think we're heading into a straight currency war with China. And I'm not 100% sure that we're going to get a lot of backing from our allies on the dollar remaining, the strongest, best currency, the world reserve. Because that Instex system, that's being formed by Germany, there's a lot of European people getting on it, which takes them off the dollar. So there's a lot of things at play here, gang. A lot of things going on in the background that are not being reported by mainstream, and in some cases not even being reported very well by the alternative media. So just be prepared for this. Now as far as gold and silver go, I think that gold and silver are an excellent way to hedge your bets, especially against the dollar. So, but I think having a little bit of crypto is, I've talked about this before, having a little bit of crypto is probably a good thing too. Does it mean that gold and silver are going to continue going up, 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 up? No, it doesn't. Does it mean crypto is going to continue going up, up, up? No, it sure doesn't. But you got to think the long game, like the Chinese. If the dollar should fail, would you like to still be in dollars? Would you like to still be in the stock market? Would you like to still be in treasuries or bonds? Any dollar denominated asset will fail when the dollar fails. So that's what I'd like to bring to the table today is start thinking of ways you can protect your wealth without the dollar. And and the only two ways I can think of right offhand, literally, are precious metals and cryptocurrencies. Food, and make sure you have some food as well. I don't know what the future brings, gang. I do know that there is another story that's going on right now that has to do with literally with food prices going up. It's actually starting to hit the media now. Food prices are starting to go up. No, we warned about this back when the flooding was happening in the Midwest here. So at any rate, you should have that on your mind anyway. And and I don't have a timetable for you guys when things are going to start getting bad. I just don't. I do know that interest rates are going to be lowered, and I know, and I had a very interesting and a very intelligent comment from David Burden in my last one, and I had to think about it for a quick second because he said, "I think they're going to go up. Why do you think they're going to go down?" I had to think about it, and it's just because. By the way, thank you for that comment, David, because you forced me to actually think about my position a little bit and actually put it down in a way that makes sense. But basically, as the interest rates go up, if they go up again, the interest payments on the debt will become a very big crisis here in the United States. We're approaching, I believe it's getting really close to $1 trillion per year is the interest we're paying on our debt. So the tax base, us, the citizens, have to be taxed a minimum of $1 trillion a year just to pay the interest on the debt to the Federal Reserve. And that's their profit. So if we keep raising rates, there just won't be enough tax money, to actually do this. There won't be political will to raise taxes either, as people are hurting, hurting really badly because the interest rates are hitting them in other ways as well. Their credit card, home loans, auto loans, whatever. So, and then there's other reasons too. Margin trading in the stock market, which is one of the reasons why the crash was so serious in 1929. I'm talking about the stock market crash in 1929, was because people were borrowing money to speculate on stocks, and that is not a smart thing to do. I know people who have done it and have been wildly successful. So I mean, if you're smart enough and you're good enough and you understand the market well enough, then it might be a good thing. But for those who don't know the markets very well, don't know that a crash is coming, for instance, are not an insider, don't understand anything about black swans, and basically any type of unknown event that could come along and just literally trounce all over the stock market or the bond market for that matter, should not be engaging in that level of trade. Basically the margin trading and leverage trading, all that fun stuff. It's a very dangerous game for those who don't know what they're doing. And it can financially, really hurt you bad. So I want to thank David for that question. And but he may be right too. I mean, they may just raise rates, the exact opposite of what the stock market is. Actually, the stock market has priced in, I think, a full basis point reversal on interest rates. I think that's what they've priced in now. So if we don't get something by September, we're going to have get something. What I meant by that is if we don't get a rate cut by September, the market's going to crash, gang. And I'm talking about not a correction, but a crash. That means 20% of the stock market or more will evaporate. And that's how badly the market wants those rate cuts. So, but on the other hand, if they want to raise rates, then they have a specific date that they want to actually kill the economy. And that's not just here in the United States. That would be worldwide. So there's a lot to think about, and I realize that I've gone way off topic here, but I think it's all connected. So I don't think there's going to be a trade deal with China. I think we're done dealing with China. As Drifter, also, one of the commenters, and also he is in our Discord group, SC Drifter, has mentioned that, you know, he thinks that this whole China, trade. Now, actually, let's not get into that part. That would open up a larger subject that would require another podcast. But it is important for everyone to understand that we're getting a divorce from China. That's what's going on here. And it's a amicable divorce, and so far it's very peaceful. And it was based on currency. It was based on currency. Now, Trump was not wrong when he said China's manipulating their currency. Yes, they are. Of course they are. And he wasn't wrong when he said everyone's doing it except for us. Well, we do it too, but we do it on a much lower level because we just keep printing money, and not tell the people that the value of their currency is going down. They should know this because they can't save money and earn any money on savings. So that should be very apparent to Americans at this point. But in China, they devalue their currency purposely, and they make announcements, just like Russia, just like Mexico. Lots of countries do that. The United States can't do it. So basically, it makes our dollar very strong, and it also makes our our exports to other nations very expensive. So it makes it very difficult to compete unless we have a unique product that no one else makes, and they have to have it, then they will pay the price. So that's where our back is up against the wall too. So I understand what Trump is saying. We have to start devaluing the dollar. So that means money printing. Money printing is coming. So that's why you have to start looking at ways to protect your wealth and not be in dollar denominated assets when this dollar printing starts coming along, so we can make our exports look prettier, because things are going to be more expensive here in the United States. So that's, now I brought you full circle, all the way back around. So basically, the trade war with China is directly linked to how much money you can make saving or investing in dollar denominated assets. So that's, the game that we're in now. And is it the end game? I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I do find this a little bit alarming. Gold and silver should be a safe haven, should the dollar get printed, out of control. That should be, it's always been, for millennia. Any currency around the planet that got overprinted, gold and silver, kept your wealth. So you didn't lose anything during that printing. So, something to consider. But now cryptocurrencies have come along too. And I hedge, by having some crypto. I haven't bought crypto in a long, long time. I was lucky enough to get in 2.5 years ago when cryptocurrencies were a fraction of what they are today. But I submit to you, today they are a fraction of what they will probably be 2.5 years from now. So having a little bit of crypto, having a little bit of Bitcoin, can help, can definitely help especially during a hyperinflation. You don't think money's going to go into crypto, or currency, I'm sorry, is going to go into crypto when we're hyperinflating? You bet it is. You bet it is, just like it does into precious metals. So, and if one goes up before the other, then you're not down for the count. So at any rate, those are my thoughts, and I've went on way longer than I intended to, and I apologize about that. Just wanted to get some thoughts out, because this thing with China trade is coming up again, where Trump is saying we're nowhere near a deal after a full year of telling us they were very close, 90% done with the deal. And I gave you an explanation as to why I think the deal collapsed. In 2 videos, I believe I've mentioned, once again, I cannot link up anything for this because this is something Jim Willey did in an interview. And it was speculation on his part, but he says it was probably what happened, which is what China said to Trump. You have to stop manipulating gold and silver. That is, that is our only position. You have to stop doing that. And then, we can resume trade. And Trump said, no, we're not going to stop manipulating gold and silver. We're going to keep it down as hard as we can for as long as we can, because that's the only thing that's making the dollar look pretty, is that gold and silver are low. So whether or not that's true, I'm not sure, but actually it makes a lot of sense to me, gang, because China's been buying a lot of gold and silver over the last 6 years, and I mean a lot. and they're not selling what they're mining. So we have no idea how much they're mining, but we do know they're mining a lot. So precious metals may be part of the plan going into the future. Um, so you may want to, consider that. Okay, now as far as silver and gold go, silver is at about 1610 right now, 1612, 1614. Now, I'm just going to mention this, that there is resistance at this level for silver, and it goes up to about 1680. So we have to get through to $17 on silver. And once again, this is paper silver. This is not the real thing. So I want you guys to understand that. This is all paper. So when you're looking at the price of silver. So it's got to punch through and get to 17, and then there's virtually no resistance until you get to about $20.50. So we just got to punch through there, and silver should be, doing pretty well after that. However, there may be a thing where silver stalls for a while at the low 16s while gold continues going up. That may happen as well. But once we get that gold to silver ratio at about 100, silver will just be pulled up automatically. I mean, this is what we've seen in the past anyway. So, at any rate, that's my thoughts on it. I am still, in silver. I am still in gold, and I'm talking physical. I don't have any paper products, and I have crypto, and so that's what I have been doing. However, as things continue to get worse, and by the way, the stories are coming out about the slowdown in the economy, which we saw in our group 5 years ago. I mean, once again, everything's subsidized. It makes everything look prettier on paper. And that's what's going on. Everything is subsidized, gang. So we have very much a communist financial system now at this point because they subsidize everything. We subsidize our banks, for the love of God. We subsidize our banks. That's QE1, QE2, QE3. That's subsidizing the banks. All right. Okay. Well, you guys all have a wonderful day. May God bless you all.